Okay. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Branding Brothers. Special episode. We have a visiting guest, McCain Kennedy from Setfire Creative. There he is. We're going to be learning a lot from him today about kind of his expertise and all the things that he does working at a creative marketing agency. So we're going to pick his brain and hopefully learn a lot. And we're very excited. So I'll be hosting Zach Weber. I'm here with my partner and colleague, CEO, Josh Weber.
Josh Weber. Yeah. And apologies in advance for Jackson, our editing team, our marketing team, having to edit whatever I'm about to say and my terrible connection. But we're going to give it a go and put them to the test, right? So let's get into it.
I love it. Okay. Josh is joining us remote. He's in Bogota right now, right?
That's true.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome.
At least that's what you've been told, Zach.
Yeah. Who knows? Where in the world is Josh today? That's the guessing game. Okay. Well, we're going to go ahead and dive right into it. McCain, I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of introduce yourself, introduce Setfire as well, your services and expertise.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Zach and Josh, for having me on. I really appreciate it. Looking forward to this conversation. So I am the founder of Setfire Creative. We're a digital marketing agency out here in Utah. And we specialize in what we call our core four services. So that's social media advertising, social media management, Google Ads, and search engine optimization. So those are the things that we're really good at. Those are things that we stick out and help our clients with. So we specifically work with small to mid-sized businesses. That's kind of our bread and butter. So we work with a lot of companies that kind of fit in the range of everything from startups that are pre-launched trying to drum up some buzz to companies that are more established. They've been around for years. They may even have an internal marketing team and they just need us to come in and kind of supplement some of the marketing strategy there. So that's what we do. We've been around for a little bit now. 2019 is when we got our start, and we've been loving it.
Question from me, McCain, right out of the gate. So I like that kind of branding that you had around the core four. What led you guys to choose those four core services? And was it a challenge to get to that point? i.e., did you try a bunch of different things and you're like, hey, this isn't for us? You know what I mean? Yeah. And how'd you get to the core four and why?
Unfortunately, that is the case. So we started, and as the name says, right, like Setfire Creative. People always come to us and they're like, are you a creative agency? So do you do a lot of design? Do you do content creation? And when we first started, that was the case. So we would do graphic design. We do logo design. We design anything someone would send our way. But we also, in the initial start of Setfire Creative, we were doing social media management and social ads for clients. So that was kind of like the three things we were doing. And what we learned over time is that we just really didn't like taking on graphic design projects for whatever reason. It just didn't make as much sense. And we didn't feel like we gave as good a quality with our design projects as we were giving with our social media management services and our paid social services. Then over the next couple of years, we actually tried out web design at one point too. This was actually before we connected with Big Red Jelly. We tried our hand at web design, did it for about 6 months. Had a couple people on the team that had some experience with it and we're like, we can do this, let's do it. So we signed some clients, did not like it, did not like the process, just figured out it wasn't for us. It wasn't our bread and butter. It wasn't what we were good at. And we didn't feel like we could provide a good service. So that's why we actually got connected to Big Red Jelly and we're like, okay, these are the guys we're sending website projects to from now on. And then over time, what we realized is we started hiring on people that were really good at paid social, and all those people were like, hey, we're good at Google Ads. Can we start doing Google Ads? So we started doing Google Ads. I come from like an SEO background too. So I was like, well, if we're doing Google Ads, let's just do the organic side as well. Let's start doing SEO. And what we realized was just over time, we realized these are the four things we're really good at. Let's just stick to these four things. For everything else, let's just have partners. And we're very transparent too about it. And I'm sure you guys are as well. Like, someone comes to us, rather than trying to white label it or trying to contract out work, it's like, nope, we're just going to introduce you to the guys over at Big Red Jelly. They can take care of you for any of your branding needs or your website needs. And so we have partners for pretty much everything. Amazon marketing, boom, over there. Email marketing, boom, over there. And then we just stick to what we're good at.
That's such a great core principle that I think agency owners learn quickly and the hard way. And it's so prevalent in agency life, where it's like, you've got to find your niche, you've got to lean into what you're the best at, and then find strategic partners for all the gaps. The amount of times, same lesson learned here. Ditto everything you just said, and Zach would agree. And then it's like, well, I have that conversation with small business owners all the time, and they struggle to niche down. But I think in the agency world, it's such a high pressure space. You have no choice, but you gotta lean into what makes you special. So well said.
Yeah. It's almost easier for agencies to recognize that they have to niche than it is for like other business types, because like industries, like if you don't niche down, you spread yourself out way too thin. But if you're e-commerce, you don't really feel that spread as much. We went through the same growing pains. It was like, oh man, we don't have enough resources or time or energy to do all these services. Like we have to niche down. That's cool. Anyways,
so let me ask you this. A really quick follow-up question there, Zach, and then I'll hand the time over to you. But I'm genuinely, as I've been waiting to ask this question. You guys work with a lot of small to mid-sized businesses, which I love, and you offer these core digital marketing services. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you see small businesses make, or some of the most common misconceptions that you keep bumping into when you're talking to a small business owner and they're like, I think I should do this, or they're doing something already, and you just wish you could shout from the rooftops like, hey, if you're a small business owner, here are some things to keep in mind. What would you say?
Yeah, so a few things. One is people will come to us already determined to do one type of marketing strategy, even though my team says, nope, we think you should do something else. And it's typically a thing of like, well, but this worked for my buddy's company, so it'll work for mine. And it's like, okay, you're different audience, different products. No, just because it worked for them, it's not going to work for you. Another thing is trying to DIY everything. That's huge nowadays. But if I told you how many clients that we have come to us that they go, okay, I tried running ads on my own after reading every blog post available, watching every YouTube video available. What am I doing wrong? And then we jump into their accounts to do an audit. And we're like, okay, we see everything that's going wrong here. I mean, that makes up a lot of people that we talk to be totally honest. And I get it. You want to save money out of the gate, but it's almost that thing of like, well, do you want to kind of gamble and risk it and try to do it yourself and lose money that way? Or would you rather pay an agency or hire someone internally to actually do it the right way and make you some money, right? And then I'd say the last thing is just patience, especially working with small businesses. It's really easy to think that a Google ads or a social media ads strategy is an overnight solution. Like, hey, I turned on my ads today, therefore I should start seeing sales tomorrow. It doesn't work that way, especially with smaller ad spends. It's going to take time. And so you have to give it time to percolate and give it time to go through the learning process and run some A/B tests and things like that. And the people who are generally the most successful with any type of online ads campaign, it's because they're patient. Like they're able to A/B test really well in the beginning, take that data, now create some better campaigns based on that data collected, and then give it time to really hit its stride.
Nice.
Oh, that's well cool. Said. How long do your campaigns usually last when you're running campaigns for and you're combining several marketing strategies? Are they usually month to month, or is it a month-long campaign, a quarterly campaign, or how often does it vary?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, it varies. If we create a campaign and it's crushing it, we're just going to let that thing run. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But if we turn on a campaign and it's getting results, but it's not quite getting what we're wanting, we're going to make new iterations of that campaign, maybe every couple of weeks or so. And then we have some people that come to us and obviously they have like sales going on or it's a seasonal thing. And so then campaign length is kind of based on those factors.
Looks like I was frozen for a little bit. I think I'm good now. Thank you for that, though. Kind of shifting gears a second here, McCain.
Yeah.
The last couple of years have been pretty crazy as far as digital marketing, especially in the social media world. New platforms, TikTok, etc. In the last couple of years, I guess even since Setfire's been doing social media marketing, what changes are you seeing are happening now? And how's that going to affect the next year for business owners who are potentially listening to this, considering social media marketing as one of their strategies?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of changes just over the last 5 years. I mean, ever since I've kind of been doing this. I mean, I graduated about, man, it's been 8-9 years ago, right? And a lot has changed within that time. As you mentioned, TikTok is a newer social media platform that just took the world by storm, right? And now we're all kind of waiting to see what happens with TikTok. So there's definitely everyone's curious, kind of watching that, but seeing things like Meta just copying what other social media platforms does, like Meta looked at Snapchat and said, hey, we can't buy them, let's just make Instagram stories, right, and Facebook stories. TikTok comes out, oh, people like this short form video style, this vertical video style, cool, let's create reels and let's do this stuff, right? So we've seen, man, even in the last 5 years, it just evolved. I mean, it went from it being really easy to manage your social media channels of like, okay, I'm just going to post a few times a week or each day, write a great caption. Now it's like video is so important, right? Getting those reels, keeping track of the trends, like what's trending and how can we take that and use it for our business. I mean, never before have we seen this like copycat mentality of like, oh, hey, there's thousands of people doing this video, I'm not going to do anything original, I'm just going to do this video again for my business and call it good, right? Like, I mean, it's an interesting thing. So we always say, like, in digital marketing, it's evolve or die, right? Like, you have to kind of keep track of those trends, stay on top of them, mimic what's going on, but just make sure everything's geared to your audience and still follows your brand voice on social.
I like that. What trends do you think small business owners should be aware of heading into the latter half of this year and then into next year? Are you guys seeing anything in the front lines of online advertising, social media, that you would share with a small business owner?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, one thing that I always tell people is, especially working with small businesses, is like, when you think of the latter half of the year, the big thing that comes to our mind is always Black Friday and starting sooner rather than later. And it's crazy, but it's just one of those things where we'll hear from people the week before Black Friday, what kind of sale should we run? And it's like, no, you should have started planning this forever ago, right? Like, this is the idea. So it may be a few months out, but it's like one of those things where it's like, get started now and think about your strategy, what kind of sale you want to run, and how you can really execute, and make sure it's an integrated strategy. Make sure it's not just one thing, and make sure you've got email marketing going along with some social ads, and your organic social is going to reflect that as well. But I mean, when it comes to like paid ads, just in general, one thing that's really been working well for a lot of our clients is, video always works well. Testimonials always work well. The UGC content that people are creating right now, the real style ones, are working so well. Just from what we've seen with a lot of, like, especially our e-commerce brands. If they can work with affiliates or influencers and create some of that content, have them shoot video, that's a video they could use on organic social. That's a good video to use on ads. Just kind of validates the business a little bit more, builds a little bit of trust factor, but also it's a good piece of content. So actually, that's like one conversation we've been having with people when they ask about what content. We're like, go do some UGC, go contact some people and see if you can shoot some video that way.
For our listeners, McCain, can you define UGC and kind of tell some strategies of acquiring that for their businesses?
Yeah, so sorry, UGC, user generated content. So it's changed over the years, right? I mean, it used to be this thing where brands could contact people on social media and say, hey, could I send you a product, and could you just try it, and if you like it, could you post about it? Now it's a different ballpark. Like, it's a different game, right? Like, it's now generally depending on the type of person that you're gonna contact. If you're going with an influencer with thousands and thousands, maybe even millions of followers, right? There's going to be some money behind it, right? You're going to have to pay them to do something like that. But so what's become really big over the last few years is actually micro influencers, people that have 5,000 followers, 10,000 followers. Not the big 5 million follower people, but kind of these micro influencers, what we call them. Reaching out over social media. If you can find any contact information, contact them over email. Personalize the email to them and just let them know who you are and why you think they would be a good fit for your brand. Also, what you want out of it. So like the content we really like, that's user generated content, is generally like unboxing videos, showing the person receiving their package, unboxing it, pulling it out, then using it, and then talking to the camera about it and giving their own testimonial of it is like the perfect UGC video. But yeah, there is definitely like, we've spent some time, especially in the past, we used to do a lot more influencer outreach, and we would create a sheet, like a Google sheet, and just pick every influencer we think would be good, put all their information there. Then we just start contacting them, just reaching out over DMs, email, and all this stuff. And then at that point, you're kind of at the mercy of them if they're going to respond or not. But of course, doing some follow up and seeing if they're interested. But it's definitely a ballpark or a different game now than it was just a few years ago.
Yeah, it's pretty wild that I'll be scrolling on social media and I'll come across like a big brand, and I can tell that they kind of did this placed UGC content. We've all seen them, right? It's like some person who's like, I just ordered this. And I'm like, but it does, I don't know what it is in my psyche that gets me to stop on these authentic videos. Maybe it's because we went through a decade of Instagram fakeness where it's like, this now cuts through the noise. I'm curious now, like, okay, that's going to be everywhere. I think, what's going to come after that? I have no clue, but it does work right now. I 100% agree. I stop my scroll. I'm like, this isn't a real person. I'm like, this is user. It's like the new user generated content. It's almost like the tangent here, but there's a guy who sells, have you seen this guy? He's like a fitness guy, and he was putting a lot of videos out there where he copied the backdrop of Joe Rogan's podcast and the same microphone. Guy. Yeah, the V-Shred guy, yeah. And I was like, wow. Well, like that's what it's getting to now. You know what I mean? Like duping us with the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah. We encounter a lot of small businesses who have a lot of user-generated content, but just like don't know that it exists. Like Google reviews, for example. It's like some people are taking photos and videos of your restaurant or your business and leaving reviews and putting it out there, and you're not even using it. There's so many, like, even before like proactive user-generated content, there's a lot of just like gathering existing stuff. Or like if you have a social media account, using people who tag you. It's like it doesn't have to be proactive per se. It can be reactive in the sense, there's already a lot of this content out here. I can recycle that and kind of use it. But that's one of my favorite topics, UGC.
Yeah, because it's so interesting, right? Like there's brands out there that probably if you went under their tagged tab in Instagram and you saw everything, they probably responded to every time they were tagged. But did they do anything after that? Did they reach out to that raving fan and then ask them to like maybe shoot him a video or a testimonial or go leave him a review somewhere? Or, there's so much that you could do after being tagged in someone's post. But yeah, mostly it's like, hey, thanks for the tag. And that's it.
Yeah. You said something earlier, McCain, that I really like. Maybe you can talk a little bit more about it. I forget the word you used, but using the Black Friday example of, okay, hey, it's important to run some ads, but let's also address some other channels. Was that integrated?
Yeah.
What was the phrase? Tell us more about that. Why is that important, and what is it?
Yeah, because that's one thing that's a challenge that we face a lot of times, right? Because like people will come to us, and depending on their budget, they may only be able to afford like one marketing strategy. So my team, our challenge is, well, what's going to be the best bang for your buck? And sometimes that's Facebook ads, sometimes that's Google ads, right? Sometimes it's something we don't offer. We just have to send them away. But what's nice is when you can do multiple strategies that all integrate with one another and play together well. And that comes as a surprise to some people, right? They'll be like, how do Google ads and social ads play together? Like they're two totally different platforms. But to us, we look at it and we say, like, well, if someone's searching for a company like yours and they see your Google ad, they click on it, you have a Facebook pixel set up on there. Now, if they don't do anything on your website and they're like, well, I'm going to think about this. Now, 10 minutes later, when they jump on Facebook or Instagram, all of a sudden they're getting your remarketing ads popping up, right? Same thing, Facebook to Google. Like they could get there through a Facebook ad, not do anything. And then if we have remarketing display ads on Google going up when they're going and visiting other websites, now your ads are popping up, right? So for us, like going back to the Black Friday thing, is that it's just not one thing, right? Like people respond to different advertising strategies different ways. I talk to people that say, I have never bought a product off Instagram before because I know their ads. I see that they're ads. I know they're targeting me. I don't like it. I'm not going to buy that way. But then you ask them, well, how do you buy? Oh, well, when I go on Google and I'm doing a search, I'll click on those, or, oh yeah, anytime I get an SMS message or an email, I'll go click on those. So kind of covering your basis and saying like, hey, we can run social ads, but let's also do like an email marketing campaign. Maybe we have a banner up on our website, like whatever it might be, right? It's good to kind of have all those things work together.
So true. I think, something I try to evangelize to small business owners is like blurring the lines between marketing and branding and sales and customer service and fulfillment. It's like, it's all the same. It's all related. And I think it's a little outdated to assume that these are these different departments, or categories, where it's like your customer service is going to turn these customers into promoters. They're going to promote your product. They're going to push people back. It's this whole flywheel mentality. And I like that, right? If there's any like one piece of wisdom for small business owners, it's exactly like you said, take a step back, look at the picture as a whole. And how is this ad campaign going to affect my email marketing strategy, which is going to affect my content marketing, which is going to affect my customer service? How do I onboard customers and then all the way through? So it's a lot to digest, but I think just having that philosophy in mind is helpful for a lot of small business owners. So.
Yeah. Well, and I worked in-house somewhere before going full-time at Setfire Creative. And the biggest thing, it was a great startup company, been around for a few years. They were launching a new product, and I remember I had only been there for a couple months. And the first thing that caught my eye when I got there is they had two separate marketing teams, which I thought was weird, and there was no rhyme or reason really behind that. It was just one of the owners wanted to be over one of the marketing teams, and the other owner wanted to be over the other marketing team, and neither of them had a marketing background. But they just wanted to get better at marketing. And when we launched this new product, they were so surprised because they thought it was going to do a lot better in the first week of sales. And it still did well, but it didn't do nearly as well as they thought. And they couldn't figure it out. And I'm not saying this is the answer, but the one thing that crossed my mind is I was like, there was never one time where everyone who was involved in marketing sat in the same room and talked about like the game plan. So the social media team never talked to the social ads guy, who never talked to the graphic designer, whoever talked to the video designer. Like no one talked to each other. And it meant if you went to our organic social, if you went to like our Instagram page, if you saw our ads, if you went to our Kickstarter page, which is where they were launching the new product, if you watched the videos, they all had different voices and different messaging and different here's why you should buy this product. And it was just in different call to actions, and it was just nothing was lined up. And my take was if you could just have gotten everyone in the room and just kind of solidified like, hey, this is the strategy, this is what we're communicating, this is our message, this is our voice and everything, I think it would have done a lot better. But it just felt so disjointed, right? So it's just echoing what you said, Josh. Yeah, it's so important to kind of blur that line and just say, hey, this all works together. Like it needs to be cohesive and synergistic. Yeah.
Yeah, multiple issues there. And Zach, I'll hand the time over to you for a final question. But it makes me, yeah, it's like, okay, inconsistency and then the teams not being in the same room at the same time. And it makes me think of this quote. I watched it this morning, interestingly enough. Steve Jobs, I'm going to butcher this quote, but this is an old interview. They were asking, like, what makes Apple products so successful? And this is going to sound like blasphemy to agency marketers that are on this podcast right now, but he's like, look, most of the time marketing departments kind of come into a company, or they're in the company, and they kind of take over and they push out, or they kind of silence the product development team, or those that produce, or those that serve. And it's like, then you have a major so not only is there disconnect within the marketing department, but now the marketing department is kind of speaking on behalf of those that make the product. And that was an interesting, good reminder for me. It's like, how can you embed into what the client does, and I guess it's related to UGC in a way. You always organic. It's like you want the people who build the product and provide the service to be the marketers in a way. You're just there to help the execution, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's a great quote.
Yeah. Last question, and then McCain will let you go after you give yourself a plug. But for all of the listeners, aspiring entrepreneurs, people who are just getting started up, what's the tip or trick that you want to leave them with, as they're getting started? What's the one thing to keep in mind as far as social media marketing, or social media, or just marketing in general goes?
Yeah, my one piece of advice would be know who your company is, know who your target demographic is, and speak to those people. If you are a hunting brand, you should not be making messaging for everyone, right? For vegans and for those who are not in that space, right? It just doesn't make sense. So it's important to know who you're talking to, keep a consistent voice, and then also just the quality of your content. I met with a company just the other day that they're like, yeah, we're brand new. We've only posted 5 times on Instagram so far. And I was like, okay, I pulled up their page. Their content was phenomenal. Like those 5 posts, the quality was amazing. And I was like, guys, if you just keep this up, you could post a couple times a week and no one's going to care. Like, this is great content. Like, so I always say, when it comes to posting too, like, people think quantity is important, which it is, and you can get to that point. But I'd say don't break your back in the beginning and feel like I have to post everything. I always say all killer, no filler. Like with your Instagram, like try to make sure that every post is killer. Like try to make sure the quality's there. The consistency will get there. The daily posts will get there. But just get started. Kind of focus on that quality. Know who you are. Know who you're talking to. Keep that consistent brand voice, and you'll be good.
That's awesome. All killer, no filler. That's cool. I'm gonna steal that. Awesome. Anyways, no, McCain, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it. This was really awesome. Tell people where to find you. Apart from setfirecreative.com, how people get in touch if they want to kind of pick your brain some more.
Yeah, can find me on LinkedIn, McCain Kennedy. Connect with me, shoot me a message. I check all the messages, and I love to connect with people in chat. So feel free to reach out.
Awesome. Thanks again. Appreciate it. And for the listeners, stay tuned. We're going to have some more guests in kind of other spheres of expertise in the next coming couple of weeks. So stay tuned there, and we will see you next time.